What is up? We are back. My plans have changed just a little bit. I was going to break down these fights piece by piece, but nonetheless, I'm just going to put out a full video. We're going to break down all these fights for UFC Fight Night. We got Kape taking on Almabayev. This should be a great flyweight match. Going to have a lot of implications for the flyweight division. Title shot implications coming up for at least Kape. We'll see if they give Asu the same standing if he was to win this fight. But we'll see how this one goes. We are going to break down this whole card, and we'll get right into it. I won't waste any time. We're going to speed breakdown on this one. We've got the first fight coming up. We've got Montana De La Rosa taking on Luana Carolina. I don't have a ton of interest in this fight. I will go ahead and let you know that my pick for this fight is going to be Luana Carolina. I think that she's going to be the better striker. The one thing that I will throw in there is the takedowns for Montana De La Rosa. We'll see if they're going to be enough to end up getting Luana actually to the ground. But I think the movement for Luana is going to be a little bit too much for her in the realm of being able to pinpoint her in order to get the takedowns. Right now, it's not. We don't have that big of a gap in the betting odds as far as that goes. Luana Carolina, I think the last I looked was like a minus 130. So not bad if you are looking to bet this fight. I think De La Rosa, at a 110. But her last fight, she lost against Andrea Lee. Nobody's necessarily losing against Andrea Lee, which she is fighting on this card as well. So we're going to talk about her a little bit later. But Carolina, she is on that 3-fight winning streak. Her wins haven't been that impressive. Lucy Pudilova is not a bad one. You got the decision there. I think we did probably have a bet on that one. If I was going to put a bet in on this fight, which I would think it's going to go to decision or over 2.5, but I think at those odds, you're still not getting much of a value there. So I would be careful with that. I don't see much value on either side unless you're taking a money line, unless you feel confident enough that one of these ladies is going to be able to get this done and you feel, that's a good choice. Maybe a win by decision for Carolina might not be a bad bet. So we'll see how this fight plays out. But I think Luana Carolina by decision is the way I'm going to go. Next up, we have Charles Johnson taking on the relative newcomer Ramazan Timurov. This is going to be one of my most looking forward to fights of the night. This is going to be another one that I think Charles Johnson is kind of getting shafted. He keeps getting opponents that are lower ranked than he should be fighting. I think at this point, he's kind of proven himself. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, and the wins that he's had are not bad. They're kind of throwing him to the dogs in a way, giving him all these newcomers coming in, kind of testing where he's at. He keeps overcoming most of these tests. He did lose to Rafael Esteban, which now looking back, that's not a bad loss. He's constantly going for takedowns. So he did have a win against Azat Maxim. He beat Jake Hadley, which that was a highly touted newcomer coming in. He beat Joshua Van, stopped him. So his wins are actually pretty impressive. On the other hand, you have Ramazan Timurov, who, in my mind, he's a little demon. This guy he's going to come after you. I know he's undersized in this one. I know we're talking about a 5-inch height advantage here. We are talking about a 7-inch reach advantage, but all in all, I don't think this is going to matter. I think that he is quick enough to get in on Johnson. I think he's going to be walking him down basically the whole entire fight. I think the takedowns are going to be there if he wants them, but he's got knockout power. And Johnson, even though I don't think this is going to be a knockout type fight, I think he's going to start wearing some damage in this one, and the odds have completely flipped. So even if you were one of those people that were completely on the Johnson side to begin with, you got him at plus money, and now he is completely flipped to the favorite in this matchup. So now if you are one of the people that first believed in Timurov, which I was, then you and I have a bet in on him at minus 125. So if I felt good about it at minus 125, now it's gotten even better, and I'm getting plus odds on Timurov. I think in this, since it has completely flip-flopped now, even if you weren't necessarily on Timurov, I think now's the time to get in and take him as your bet, because even if this is a close fight, I think there's always a chance, I don't think this is necessarily a knockout. And if there is a knockout or a finish, I put it more on the Timurov side than him being finished by Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson, in most cases, he's not been the finisher in the UFC to this point. So I'm going to go with Timurov, and especially now with you getting plus odds on him, with that completely flipping, maybe there is a reason, but he did come in as he was that slight favorite. That may flip back. You never know how that's going to go, but I think I don't know why that's flipping. I was looking today to see if there's maybe staph infection issues, or somebody showed a picture of him and they pinpointed something. But overall, I think it's just the experience level of Johnson, which could be a factor. And he does have really good takedown defense. So we're going to see how this one plays out. But I just think at dog odds, even though he is a newcomer, he's proven to have knockout power. He's proven to have the keys to success here, even when fighting a little bit oversized opponent. So I think this is going to be one of those that he can get done as well. So I'm going Ramazan Timurov here to get a decision win over Charles Johnson. Next, we have Andrea Lee taking on JJ Aldrich. Again, this is another fight that I'm not overly interested in. This is going to be a women's flyweight match. Andrea Lee's coming in off 5 losses. Now, in most cases, I don't like it when you just continually keep losing. But in her cases, she's taking on some pretty decent opponents here. She's not losing to the people that are losing other fights. And she did lose her last match to Montana De La Rosa. That was a split decision. Look, I think she's going to be motivated to get this done. So I'm not a huge fan of JJ Aldrich. Her last match, she lost to Veronica Hardy. I'm not impressed with anything she does. I think she's going to be the slower fighter. I know that she is the younger fighter in this one, but it's not a huge age gap here. And I just think that Andrea Lee, if she can avoid the takedowns, and this is a stand-up match, I think it's going to go to decision, 1. 2, I think it's the type of matchup that favors her, because I think she's going to out-volume JJ Aldrich, and that movement, she's going to constantly be on her bike, going. And Aldrich is going to be the more stiff, stay in one spot, boxing type, which that may be the key to beat Andrea Lee. We'll see. I just think that Andrea Lee is going to out-volume her. I think this is going to be a decision. I'm not too interested in betting this, but I think if it goes to the distance, I think over 2.5, something like that. But at this point, your odds are probably a little steep on that as well. So not too interested in it, but Andrea Lee, I believe, is going to get the win over JJ Aldrich. Next up, Danny Silva taking on Lucas Almeida. This is another one that at first I looked at it and was immediately on the Lucas Almeida side. Even at that underdog odds like that. And then as I'm looking a little bit more, I like the dog in Danny Silva. Okay. I know that Almeida's probably the slicker striker. He's probably overall, he may be the better fighter here, but I just think that Silva's going to come out. I think this is going to be one of those fights where he's looking to get back. He's not had a loss yet. He did have that split decision against Kulabov the last time out, and I'm more impressed with somebody beating Kulabov at this point than I am with you beating Timothy Kwamba, even though Kwamba's pretty tough. But look, I just think that Silva's going to be more of the dog here. I think he's going to put the pressure on Almeida a little bit more. And I think that I keep hearing about the slickness, how he's a better striker. He definitely is. He's also a little bit older, and I don't think he's going to be necessarily come in as hungry as Silva is. Silva's got that youth energy, and I think that he's going to try and get him up against the fence, pressure him, and leave him very little as far as striking options go. So that's why I'm going to pick Silva in this fight. I know that Almeida's the pretty big dog in this right now, which I can understand in some aspects, and in some aspects I think it is wide. So if you're betting the Almeida side, totally understand that. But I'm going to take Silva, and I just don't think that in my eyes, if you're placing a bet, I don't care what the odds are. If they win, it was a good bet. So I get it. I get where people are with, hey, I don't want to bet it's too far of a stretch. And there are some times when I'll say the exact same thing. In this case, not necessarily sure that is going to be the case. So I'm going to take Silva in this matchup. I think he gets it done against Lucas Almeida. Next up, pretty interested in this one. Douglas Silva de Andrade taking on John Castaneda. I'm picking John Castaneda in this fight. I know Andrade is a very, very tough fighter, but again, a part of this comes with the youth. Andrade doesn't show a lot of signs of slowing down as far as him not being able to compete. He's ripped. Look at the guy. He's in great shape. He always comes in ready to fight, but I think in this one, it's going to be cast in favor of Castaneda because I think the takedowns are going to be there. I think that he's going to be able to find his way in. Striking wise, I think Andrade is just going to be a little bit behind him. I think Castaneda is going to have the volume with the leg kicks. I think he's going to be in and out a little bit more, and Silva's more the type that'll just be in one spot. He's got good, decent movement, but he's not going to move as much. I think he will eventually wear down. I think Castaneda gets this done by decision. Kind of going a lot of decisions here. He is the younger fighter in this, but that's not why I'm picking him in particular. I think it's going to be a little bit more of the just mixing up combo. And Castaneda, I did put him in earlier in the week, so I did get out a video. If you saw that, you do know what that bet is already, so it does involve Castaneda a little bit. I got better odds, way better odds than what you're getting now. So if you saw it, you followed it, cool. If not, or if you faded it, good too, whichever. But I did have that bet in already. We'll move right along. We got Ricardo Ramos taking on Chepe Mariscal, or Ricardo Ramos, I guess is how we're pronouncing that. No surprise here, going Chepe. I love Chepe. I think he's a great fighter. I haven't thought much of Ramos the whole entire time he's been in the UFC. He is that fighter that kind of quits. He I don't know, when it's not going his way, it seems to continuously not go his way. And his wins, he does have that win against Kulabau. Again, watching that fight back, I'm not sure that was a good decision. But I can't go against somebody who right now is finishing or winning unanimously against all the people that he's fighting. The win that I am most impressed with are Mariscal's last two, where Charrier, I'm going to say flat out, when I rewatched that match, I'm not 100% sure that I agree with the decision of him winning. I can see it going either way, so I'm not going to go against it, but that was a very, very close matchup. But Charrier is a good fighter, and I think he is a better fighter than Ricardo Ramos. Now, I hate to use MMA math, but in this, you have to just a little bit and just see the level of competition that Mariscal is fighting. He's fighting dogs, and he's winning against them. Ramos he may be fighting some dogs, but listen, he's not putting them out. He's not doing as much damage to him. I think this is going to be a fight. Mariscal is going to walk him down. I think he's going to wear him out, and a late finish is what I think is going to happen, or decision. Round 3 finish for Mariscal, pretty much getting him on the ground and just beating him into submission to where he doesn't want to take it anymore is what I think is going to happen. So I'm going Mariscal by either KO or decision on this one, but I do have him in a parlay as well. I did put that out earlier, so there was two of them that I did put out before this, and I believe that he was one of them that was included. So got that out, and we will see how this goes. But I'm picking Chepe Mariscal to win the fight with Ricardo Ramos. Next up, Austin Lane taking on Mario Pinto. This one was immediate for me. Look, I'm not impressed by by Austin Lane in the least. Even when he's winning, I'm not impressed with his fight. The fact that his last matchup against Robelis de Spain, I really don't put a lot of stock into it because he continuously took de Spain down, and now we know that is the way that you beat him. All you have to do is avoid some big punches. That is, to me, is not going to be the case with Mario Pinto. He has good takedown defense. His striking is patient. I said this in the last one. I think that is what is getting me on his side the most. Is he's not high volume, but he does walk you down. And I think Austin Lane has that. He's going to be the more working hard to get what he wants type thing going on, where he's going to be maybe out voluming Mario Pinto, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to be landing a lot. And I think when Pinto goes, he's going to go and it's going to be landing a lot. And I think Lane is not going to be able to take it. I don't think the takedowns are going to be there. So in this fight, you're getting a one-sided matchup. And I think Pinto is going to be the more patient, consistent striker out of the two, and I think he's going to do the more damage. I look for him to get the knockout in this one. So I think it's going to be Pinto by a second round knockout. Next up, Danny Barlow taking on Sam Patterson. I like this matchup as well. One thing that I will say about Sam Patterson, he's very slick, and sometimes I think he might be underestimated, and I think he's definitely being underestimated in this matchup a little bit. I do have a bet in on Danny Barlow, so I'm going to tell you straight up, my pick is Danny Barlow, but the one thing that I will caution, if this goes to the ground, Sam Patterson has slick takedowns, or not slick takedowns, but slick BJJ, so that could be a factor in this one. But the one thing that I'm kind of guessing is Danny Barlow broke his hand in the matchup that he had against Josh Quinlan. Still got the knockout, fought through it, but did have a broken hand in that one. Then he comes out, 6 months later? Yeah, 6 months later, and fights Nikolai Veretennikov. And if you watch at the end of that matchup, he holds up his arm and says, broken. So he's basically broken his arm twice. And I know that there was a 6 month break there. But to me, that's something that that's not going to be necessarily a big factor in this one, because I think he's had plenty of time now to heal. I don't think it's going to be a non-factor. Can he break it again? Yes, it can definitely be rebroken. Usually bones grow back a little bit stronger. So maybe there is an issue there. I don't know. But the fact that he's fought through it twice and he has gotten 2 wins, does lightning strike a third time like that? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be breaking his hand on one of the first punches. We will see. But he has a ferocious left hand. That is why his nickname is the left hand of God, I believe. I think he's got the wrestling to keep this on the feet. And in a striking matchup, I'm taking Barlow. I kind of get the odds. I think they've gone a little bit past where I want to take him. But I did get him in the minus, I think, 290 something. So I have a parlay in on that. I'll show you all these parlays when we finish up here. But I'm going Danny Barlow in this matchup. I think he gets a knockout. I'm going to say second or third round knockout for Danny Barlow. Next up, Haider Emil taking on William Gomi. People are really high on Gomi, and to a certain extent, I do understand that. I get why they're very high on him. He has a good record in the UFC. I'm not overly impressed with the level of competition that he's fought in the UFC, but his record is impressive, and he, excuse me, he is getting wins. So the last one is the most impressive that he had against Joe Anderson Brito. On the other hand, you have Haider Emil. He is a more of a pressure fighter. He's gonna try and use his wrestling, obviously. In this particular matchup, it could cause a problem for Gomi because he's gonna be coming at him all the time. And my one fear in this is that Gomi is not going to be able to get off as much as he usually would. And if Haider does end up getting this to the ground, is he going to be able to control? Because, he is the younger fighter out of these two. They're not, or I'm sorry, Haider is the older fighter out of these two. I understand that, but it kind of is the experience that he's got in wrestling, and that going to factor in more for Gomi. So I caution betting this one. I don't think I have any bets in on this one. But I'm going to take Gomi. But again, I think the odds, if you feel comfortable and you're as comfortable as some of these other people that I've seen taking this, I don't really understand it yet. Maybe I will after this matchup, and I'll be completely changing my mind on this one. But I will take Gomi. I think this is going to be a closer matchup than people are giving credit for Hyder Emil too. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think Gomi gets this done by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Emil. I think it goes the distance. And maybe over 2.5 might be my play on this one. But we'll see how that goes. I think Gomi is probably going to be the one that gets it done, though. Moving right along. Nasrat Hakparas taking on Esteban Ribovics. I'm pretty interested in watching this matchup. It's going to be in the 155 division. I love the 155 division to start off. Ribovics is tough. He's a killer. The loss to Loic Radzhabov, it is what it is. That was we're moving on from that one 2 years ago. He's had 3 wins since then. Not that the competition has been, well, I take it back. Zellhuber, he's way up there on the striking realm. That is one that I'm very impressed with. And the knockout of Terrence McKinney was brutal. That head kick, shit. Oh man, that one, that one got me. But on the other hand, we have Nasrat Hakparast, who he's a decisionator, man. He's winning. He's definitely winning, and he does have a KO against Jamie Mullarkey, which Jamie Mullarkey doesn't get put out a lot. That's pretty impressive. But he went to split decision in his last matchup against Jared Gordon. That, to me, is not very impressive at all. Not a huge fan of Jared Gordon. And Ribovics is going to bring the pain. When he comes in to kill you. And I think that this is going to be a matchup that he's going to find the button. Hakparast is tough to put out. That's one thing that I will say. And if Ribovics expends himself in the first round trying to get it done due to maybe clocking Hakparast in the early segments, and then it kind of he overexpels himself, that's the one thing that I'm kind of worried about. But when you're going 3 rounds competitively with somebody like Daniel Zellhuber, who's putting out a lot of volume, I'm not as worried that he can't get this done. So my pick is going to be Esteban Ribovics. I do have a bet involving him with the parlay, which again, I will show you these in just a second. We are flying right through this breakdown. We are already to the co-main event. We have Cody Brundage taking on Julian Marquez. I'm not impressed with any of these fighters. This is kind of a weak co-main event, but it could be a good co-main event. I don't think it's going to last that long. I think on one hand, you have Julian Marquez, who's going to come across. He's going to try and get this done quick. Probably by knockout is what I'm going to say. But on the other hand, you have Brundage, who throws heavy. He's going to be looking to, I would say, either connect with a big shot and then go for a takedown if that works. He's going to be trying to get this to the ground. That's his main threat there. He does have power, some big power, though. And I don't necessarily see him knocking out Marquez. I don't think it's going to be one of those that he's going to knock him out right away. I think he's going to involve some of the wrestling. The odds for this, look, Marquez, oh man, this is a weird matchup to call because but I got to go Brundage. He's the underdog in this. And to be quite honest with you, why is Julian Marquez a minus 170 favorite? It's almost the exact same scenario. Even if he is tough, he's still losing to everybody. I mean, he just lost to Zach Reese. And Zach Reese, Brundage won against Zach Reese by KO, had him on the ground and wasn't really in any range of like a knockout threat or anything like that. I think he maybe took a good punch, but he didn't succumb to it. And then on the other hand, I'm not impressed with Brundage, but I think he's got more tools in the bag for this one. So quick breakdown here. Cody Brundage as the underdog. I like him as that play. I don't have a bet in on him, but I might before this week is over when it gets a little bit closer. I want to see these guys face off. But I'm going Brundage for the simple fact that he's the underdog. He has the wrestling in his back pocket. If he can get it to the ground, I think he's going to be able to control Julian Marquez and probably land some big shots from top. So I'm going to take Brundage. The main event, Manel Kape taking on Asu Almabayev. This is going to be a very interesting main event. Asu has looked impressive in his fights so far. This is going to be a 125 flyweight matchup that is it's going to have some implications. I don't know if it would be one of those that Asu would necessarily go straight to getting a title shot. He may. He's got wins over Ode Osborne, CJ Vergara, Jose Johnson, and then Mateus Nicolau. And if he gets a win over Kape, I could see it definitely propelling him up there. On the other hand, you have Manel Kape, who he has wins over Zhalgas Zhumagulov. He has David Dvorak. He has Felipe Dos Santos. He does have that decision loss to Muhammad Mokaev, which, if you remember right, it wasn't too much of an action-packed fight there. And then we also have his last one was the win against Bruno Silva. Manel Kape is up and down. He is up and down, and his competition level has not been the greatest that I've ever seen. But he is impressive. He's a very impressive striker. He's one of those fighters that kind of fights to whatever the opponent is giving him. If Asu comes in and is heavy on the takedowns and pressure fighting, that's when Kape is probably going to overperform. And I look for Asu. I think that's going to be Asu's main method. I think he's going to try and strike with him at the beginning. I think he's going to. I don't think there's going to be a speed advantage necessarily on either side. If there's a speed advantage, I'd say Kape may have that just a little bit more, for the simple fact that he's more that straightforward striker and he has that quick reflex movement, where Asu is more of the strike to get in and try and land a takedown. That could be the main method. I'm going to go out on my, I see a lot of people, and the odds, if they keep stretching and they keep getting wider, I would probably suggest an Almabayev play. But I think that Kape, just with his experience, to me, his level of who he's fought is not actually at the same level as Asu. I think Asu has probably fought the higher level competition in the flyweight division to this point up in here. I don't know. There's certain wins. Dvorak, I'm pretty impressed with that one. If you're getting decision wins against him, he's a high caliber striker. But in this last win, Bruno Silva, that was a good win too, getting that KO. He looked really, really good. I'm going to go Manel Kape in this one, but that is not going to be what I'm going to bet in this one. Now, when it gets closer, if these odds get closer, I may take a bet on Kape, but I think at this point, there's another bet that I like a little bit better on that. But that is the breakdown. My name is Brady. This has been Be All In Sports. And if you have not, please hit the like and subscribe. Give us a like. We're trying to grow. I'm not begging for these things, but hey, it always helps. I like more interest that we do these lives every Saturday when we come through. So if you like these breakdowns, if you agree with them, comment. If you don't, comment. Give me what you got. But here's the parlays. I have a 2-leg parlay. This was put in early, so these odds are not going to be the same if you put the same parlay in. If you fade it, I totally understand. We haven't been hitting to what I want to at this point here in the last couple weeks, but some of these calls have been really good. So we're going a 2-leg parlay with Chepe Mariscal money line and Mario Pinto money line. These were put in before any of the plus minus stuff was put out. Any of the over unders were put out. These are straight money lines here. I did get this at minus 172 on DraftKings. We have a unit there. Next up, a 2-leg parlay. Danny Barlow money line and John Castaneda money line. Again, I got these way early, so these were put in where you're not going to get these odds anymore, but I still think this is a parlay that hits. I think Danny Barlow is good for the knockout in that Sam Patterson. I said I think he gets it in the 3rd round. John Castaneda, money line. Again, I went over all the reasons why I think he wins that matchup. Minus 112, I think those are pretty good odds, considering now if you put that in, you're probably in the minus 130 to 150s. So we had a little bit of value there. We got a unit there. Next up, we have a 2-leg parlay. This is the one that I was telling you about. Even though I am picking Manel Kape, I think Asu Almabayev can keep this matchup close. I think he can get a couple rounds in this, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's going to be one of those situations. If he lands a couple takedowns, could definitely steal him around. I look for him to get it up against the cage, possibly controlled a little bit more on the side. And I think that he is going to be able to steal around. So I'm going Asu Almabayev plus 5.5. And I'm taking that and I'm going to combine that with Esteban Ribovic's money line, which I think that has gone up too. I like Ribovics. I like him for the not only his volume, I like him for the power. I like him to do some damage in his matchups. 150 plus 157 on DraftKings. We got a unit there. Next up, I have one unit on Ramazan Temirov money line. I got this bad. I'll be the first to admit this is not, you don't want to take it at minus 125 when you can get plus odds now. So if you do like this bet, I would suggest you definitely go over there and put a unit on this one because you're getting plus odds now and way better than what I got on DraftKings when I originally put this in. So minus 125 for Ramazan Temirov money line is the other bet we're going. That has been the breakdown for me in this one. And I hope you enjoyed. Hope you followed along. If you're looking to fade it, I get it. We will start hitting some of these bets. These bets will start connecting a little bit more. The homework's always there. You can't, it's hard to predict fights, people. So if you're doing it and you're doing it well, congratulations. If you're using some of these, I get it. If you're not, I get that too. So do what you do. I will be on here again Saturday with the full card. So we'll do some more bets. We'll have some more fun. If you've joined me, I appreciate it. If not, we'll see you next time. This is Be All in Sports. My name is Brady. We're out. Peace, people.